Guys, we seriously need to have a long talk about the current state of Star Wars games. So I don't even have a script for this video. I'm kind of just doing this off the cuff. I've turned the camera on. Again, no script, just got some cliff notes here. Because I've got a lot to say despite being at a complete loss for words. Because Star Wars games are in, I think, the worst state they have ever been in, to be honest. Lucasfilm Games was supposed to be the savior of Star Wars games. Remember that announcement in 2021 where Lucasfilm Games came out and, mentioned that the license was opening up. There are a bunch of awesome new Star Wars games going to get made and things were going to get better. And boy, did we need it, because Star Wars games had truly bottomed out by that point and were miserable. It was a miserable place to be in. Here we are nearly 3 years later and it's gotten worse. Now, the Game Awards is basically, the biggest night on the gaming calendar, especially now that E3 and stuff like that aren't around anymore. And it's a place where if you've got games coming up, you promote them. You get them in front of people's eyes. Now, if you watched the Game Awards last night, you'd know that basically every major gaming franchise and every major entertainment IP had a presence at the Game Awards. Except for one. Wild guess as to which one it was. Yeah, Star Wars. Star Wars was not there because it seems like Star Wars just does not exist, apparently. Now, look, guys, I haven't uploaded in, nearly, probably the better half of a year, to be honest. It's probably been like 6 to 8 months or something stupid like that. Reason being, I was sick and tired of holding out hope Star Wars games was, it was going to get better, because it just seemingly either went nowhere or got worse. And that's pretty much where we're at right now. It's at the lowest point I think it's ever been, and I'm kind of done. Now, I know a lot of people who watch this video who are about to hear me go on a massive rant are gonna, sit here and say, oh, you just want this for your channel. You want this so your channel can thrive. Dude, I don't need this channel really that much anymore. This channel's more of a hobby for me now. It's more of a fun little side project. I've got other channels that I've managed to, get off the ground because Star Wars games have forced me away, because there's just nothing happening, and if there is, it's the wrong thing. So I've managed to become a full-time content creator elsewhere. This channel here is purely a hobby now. I'm here as a fan. I'm talking to you as a fan, not as a content creator who wants to capitalize on content. I'm here for the right reasons. So yeah, let's get into it, because I've got a lot to say about Star Wars games at the moment, because I'm done, man. And I know for a fact that a lot of you guys are too. Yous are equally, if not more, frustrated than I am right now, because Star Wars games are easily in the worst state they've been in for a long time. Now, in 2020, during the pandemic, Battlefront 2 was obviously cancelled. And after that, we thought Star Wars was, at the bottom. It couldn't get worse. It was all uphill from here. And that announcement from Lucasfilm Games in 2021 certainly looked like that was going to be the reality. But here we are. We're about to hit 2024 and things have gotten worse. Star Wars games are dead, to be perfectly honest. There is like no interest in this space anymore. Any hype that was there is just getting crushed every 5 seconds, like the KOTOR remake a couple weeks ago, for example. Probably the thing people were the most hyped about. And, that just got crushed. And a lot of YouTubers came out and spoke their mind truly. And that's what I'm doing here, but I'm just not focusing on KOTOR. I'm focusing on Star Wars games as a whole and Lucasfilm Games in general, because I don't know who the person is in control at Lucasfilm Games over what kind of games are getting made, how many of them are getting made, what kind of games aren't getting made. Whoever that person is, they need to get a new job, plain and simple, because Lucasfilm Games are so disconnected with Star Wars game fans and Star Wars fans in general that I am having a hard time believing that it's not on purpose, because it's the sheer level of incompetence on display here is actually impressive. Like, it's really impressive. It's something to behold. Like, the fact that me, someone who built, their online presence around the Star Wars game, can sit here and say, I'm totally done with it, is pretty indicative of where things are at right now. And again, like, I'm here as a fan just venting right now because, again, I've got the other channels now, but I have no words. That's why I've just put the camera on now and I'm just blurring out whatever, because I'm kind of done with Star Wars games, to be honest. And it's not because I want to be, it's because I'm sick and tired of the sheer incompetence on display by the people who are running things. Like, I'm friends with, a lot of gaming creators outside of the Star Wars space. And I'll get DMs from them all the time being like, yo, what's going on with Star Wars games? Like, what are they doing? Are they like intentionally throwing or just like having fun wasting, you know, everyone's time? And I always respond back and I'm just like, I don't know, man. I've just been saying that for nearly 4 years now. People from the outside looking in, asking me, what is going on with Star Wars games? What are they doing? And I've got the same answer and I have for years. I don't know, because I just don't know. The incompetence on display is insane. And even like content creators inside, you know, the Star Wars game space, I talk to them all the time and we're all of the same mindset. We're all on the same page here. Everyone's on the same page. We're all thinking the same thing. It's just the people making these games is just on a completely different page to everyone else. Like fans, creators on the outside, you know, people looking in. And that's the thing. People looking into Star Wars are seeing the same problem. So this isn't a fanboy thing where the fanboys are up in arms and are angry. This is everybody. Everybody's like looking in at Star Wars being like, yo, what are they doing? Like, why is Star Wars so dead? Like, what are they doing with these games? But yeah, man, this just all goes back to Lucasfilm Games. Like, this was supposed to be the savior of Star Wars games. It's been anything but that. Nearly 3 years on, we've gone backwards. So the Star Wars fan base in terms of the gaming space was built for, over half a decade from EA with the Battlefront franchise and Battlefront 2. It was a Star Wars game community that was purely built on multiplayer games. And obviously that got taken away from us, and there was no substitution for that. Now, what's Lucasfilm Games' answer to that? You know, probably the most successful time we've seen for Star Wars games since the mid 2000s. What's their response to that to try and recapture that magic? To virtually do everything exactly the opposite of what led to that point. Because in 2019, hate EA or not, they had the formula there for how to release successful Star Wars games. Jedi Fallen Order came out at the end of 2019 and was super successful. Battlefront 2 also hit its peak at the end of 2019. Both of the games rebounded off each other and helped, each other grow and become more popular, because you had that multiplayer game to bridge the gap. You had that multiplayer game to sustain the fan base. So when a single player game came along, they could easily hop over, finish it, have a great time, and then come back. And both games benefited from that. Star Wars as a whole benefited from that. That was the blueprint, and it was perfect. We couldn't be in more of an opposite time right now, despite the fact that Star Wars games realistically have more resources to have games made than they've ever had before, because the license has opened up. Anyone can make Star Wars games right now, and they can be making any kind of Star Wars game, but they keep making the same thing: single player games and nothing more. We have Star Wars Outlaws coming next year, apparently. That's a single player title. We have the KOTOR remake. Again, if that even comes out, single player title. We have the FPS from Respawn, which looks like it is going to be, you guessed it, a single player title. The RTS from Respawn, probably a single player title. Star Wars Eclipse, again, single player title. Amy Hennig's Star Wars game, again, single player title. You see the trend here. You see why there's a problem. And for you multiplayer fans out there, which is basically all of you, because that's what the Star Wars game fan base was built on the past, half a decade. What do you get? You get Star Wars Hunters, which has been in soft launch for 2.5 years. Great. A handheld devices game is supposed to sustain the entire Battlefront franchise and Battlefront fan base that is sitting there waiting for the next multiplayer installment. What kind of incompetency is on display for that to be a viable option? Because you've taken things from one extreme to the other, and Star Wars fans, they're at their wits' end right now. They just don't care. Like, Star Wars Outlaws is supposed to be, so hyped. It's an open world Star Wars game, yet not a lot of people really care about it. Like, there is like barely any hype there for that game at all. Like, just think about that. A Star Wars open world game is coming out next year and no one talks about it. Do you see the problem here? I guarantee you, if Battlefront 2 or something along those lines was currently in development or, in live service at this point, and Star Wars fans were still there, the hype for Outlaws would be just absolutely unreal. Like, the ultimate problem is, The Star Wars game fanbase was built on something, and that something got taken away with no replacement. And these single player games, you know, getting announced are great and all. You know, we all love single player games. Some of the best games of all time are single player. My top 5 games of all time in general really are probably single player games, like, you know, Last of Us and Red Dead 2 and, you know, all of that sort of stuff. But the problem is, all of these single player Star Wars games that are coming out, so they're pretty much the same thing. They're in development hell, or they're not getting marketed at all. That's pretty much the case for all 3 of them. And it just leaves me wondering, what are they doing at Lucasfilm Games? And the absence at the Game Awards this year was basically what solidified to me that they have no idea what they're doing. They don't care what they're doing, or they're intentionally trying to piss people off because they're doing a really damn good job of it. Like, I'm kind of just at the point now where I'm done with the sheer level of incompetence. You know, I'm looking forward to Outlaws that's coming out next year, even though they don't put the game in front of people's eyeballs at the Game Awards, which you think would be common sense, but apparently not. Like I said, every major IP, every major game franchise got some kind of attention at the Game Awards, except for Star Wars. You know, Star Wars, you know, this little IP that no one's ever heard of, apparently. You know, it's only one of the biggest IPs in the world, but for some reason, it seems to be the only one that's getting no attention. Yeah, it's mind-blowing. I'm kind of lost for words. I'm venting at this point, and I know a lot of you guys are really frustrated too. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I've been rambling for a long time. I know you guys are frustrated. I'm frustrated as a fan. Again, as a creator, I don't really care anymore. You know, again, I've got my other channels and they do really well, and that's my focus. That's my job. This, for me now, Star Wars games is purely hobby-based, and I'm here as a fan. And as a fan, I'm done. I'm so sick of it. And Lucasfilm Games, if by some miracle you're watching this video, figure it out. Your community is so disconnected with you right now. Well, more so, you're so disconnected with the community. You clearly don't know what fans want. And if you do, you're actively avoiding it on purpose, because that seems to be the only logical explanation. You have to be avoiding it on purpose, because there is no way this sheer level of incompetence can actually be the reality, because it's mind-blowing. And people are done, including myself. So I don't know what lays in the future for this channel. If they, by some miracle, sort their shit out and, you know, actually do with Star Wars games what should be done, then, you know, I'll of course be back in full force. When Outlaws comes out, I'll probably make videos on it. But until then, I'm sick of sitting around hoping for Star Wars games to get better. Been doing it for 4 years and it just keeps getting worse, and I'm not doing it anymore. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I know everyone's gonna have a lot of thoughts, and if you guys are interested in, you know, still supporting me as a creator, feel free to come over to my other 2 channels or the Twitch channel. We actually have things to do over there and things to talk about, which is good, because the people controlling the things over there actually care, unlike with Star Wars. So yeah, that's it for me today. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening to me rant. I feel better, and I hope you guys can, you know, have a bit of therapy as well by getting rowdy in the comments. So thanks for watching, and take care.